You're listening to the RPM Podcast.
Listen to it with your ear holes.
And here we are again, episode 177 of the RPM Podcast. It is July 13th, 2020 at 7:01 p.m., man. We're right on time. That's pretty good for us. The reason we're on time, we're going to have a special guest, Michael Hager, calling in soon. He's scheduled to be here in about 10 minutes, but we're just going to start the show without him, and when he calls in, we're just going to get him right on because we only have him for about 20 minutes, and I really want to talk to him. They had a big show up at Bethel Motor Speedway yesterday. He's part of the management team up there, so we're going to have him on there to talk about what was going on up there. I'm Scott Riggleman down in Manchester, New Jersey, the host of the RPM Podcast. My brother, who is America's spotter, Tim Riggleman, is up in Farmingdale. Tim, how are you?
I'm good, ready to go. Thank you.
All right, cool. And we have Joshua Matthews, the producer of our show. Josh is going in for a small procedure tomorrow, so we got to finish the show up by like 9 o'clock tonight because he's got a very early appointment in the morning to go to the doctors. What do you got going on, Josh, down there? Why are you going back to the doctors again?
I've been dealing with a lot of back pain, and they're going to do some injections into my spine, but they need to guide it with an X-ray, the needle, so they don't, screw me up too bad. And, so hopefully that'll help dramatically. And then sometime over the winter, I got to do elbow surgery because they have to reattach half my tendon.
I've been a truck driver all my life, and I dealt with back pain. 2 tips for you for back pain. Never drive your car with your wallet in your back pocket.
Right.
Because that, for some reason, screws you up. They tell you to take your wallet out of your back pocket. That's the number one thing for a truck driver. Never carry your wallet in your back pocket. Number 2, buy a hot tub.
Okay.
I got a hot tub. I go in it once a week at least for a couple hours, and it really helps my back.
Okay.
Did you try Dr. Lou Serrano's book?
No.
We might want to look into that.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll take a look.
More than one person have said they read that book and it, for whatever, cured their back pain.
I'm willing to do whatever it takes right now because it's been screwing me up and hurting my production at work and hurting my hours and stuff. It's been pretty crappy. I can get by with the elbow as long as I keep doing cortisone shots and that until.
He's a big celebrity
Okay.
doctor. Howard Stern swears by him, and so do a bunch of other people. So
is it kind of like the Tony Robbins thing?
I don't know. Everybody says if you read that book,
Okay.
it shows you how to cure your back pain.
All right. Yeah.
All right, while
Send me a
we're
link.
waiting for Michael Hager to call in, my brother wants to talk about what was announced today, which sounds pretty exciting, but we don't really know too much about it. They kind of teased us with an announcement today. Today, Ray Abraham and Tony Stewart announced that they're starting a new racing series. Josh, you know exactly what it's called? It's like
Superstar Racing Series or something.
Experience or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. SRX, I think. Yeah.
SRX. It's going to be something that they're doing with CBS. They're kind of comparing it to what the old IROC series is, where they're going to have the cars prepared by one race team or company or whatever, and the cars are going to be all even, and they're going to pair drivers up with crew chiefs and up with the car. And
Randomly,
I heard a little bit of
like,
Ray Abraham today on
it's going to be like every race they're going to get it's a random draw for what crew chief you get.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just getting to. I was listening to a little bit of Ray Abraham on a Dave Moody show today, and he said it's going to be a random draw. Like, say if Kyle Larson's there, and say you have Tommy Baldwin Jr., Ray Abraham, or, Greg Zipadelli or somebody's crew chiefs, Kyle Larson's going to have to pull for a car, and it might be the orange number 9, and he'll have to pull again for a crew chief, and he might get Ray Abraham. Next week, he might pull out of the hat and get the blue number 8, pull out of the hat for a crew chief, and get somebody else like Tommy Baldwin Jr. They're going to mix it up every race. They're trying to do 6 races, all televised on Saturday nights, which is prime time, which, Josh, I talked about this when I first came on the show with you guys. I'm against it because that's when we're at the local short tracks racing, so it's not going to be good for us. We're going to be at Wall Stadium or Bridgeport or New Egypt Speedway or Mahoney Valley or something like that on a Saturday night. But it's something we can watch the highlights on later. Or if we have a rain out in New Jersey and they're racing out in the Midwest somewhere where the weather's good, we can at least watch then,
Well, actually, another which ties into that is it's all going to fit within a 2-hour window instead of like a 4-hour window that you might have for a cup race. So even if you like DVR it or watch it, like on demand, after as a replay, it's a shorter time frame which is
And
gonna be
I'm
huge.
hearing it's even going to be even more than that. It's going to be timed events and not really laps. This way it fits into TV. You know, it could be a
Yeah.
20-minute segment or a 10-lap segment. You know, and how many laps you can do in 10 minutes. Then you pit, and you know it's all going to be scheduled pit stops. So that would be like the commercial break. You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
make a few adjustments on the car, and they might go another half hour or whatever. You know, time.
I like it because again I was a fan of the IROC, you know, and this is a variant of that, I guess.
Yeah.
But now they did mention in the one article I was looking at that Eldora, they haven't announced the locations, but Eldora would be a top contender because Stewart already owns it. So the cost, I mean, he's like, no, I'm going to use my own track for this. He doesn't need to
Sure.
pay himself, you know, whatever.
Sure.
But they're talking about it being short tracks, and now with Ray Evernham being in this, do you think? Now I know they said in the heartland of America, but is there any chance that he might say, you know what, Wall Stadium would be a heck of a track for this?
There's always that chance, but the only thing that at first I was thinking the same exact thing, and Tim, you can let me know what you think about this, but I did hear him say a couple of times they're trying to find places that will hold at least 20,000 people. 20,000 fans in attendance is their target number, and
Right.
Wall can't hold that. Wall can probably do about 7,000. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a place like Thompson, Tim, they can hold up maybe up to 10 or 15,000. But that 20,000 number was a little steep for the type of short tracks we attend, Josh.
Yeah,
He's
I was
looking
gonna say
for more
it's
of
hard to
like
call it a
premier
short track
tracks.
if you're gonna make the stand,
Yeah.
because I mean then you're looking at like a Bristol where it's completely around the track. I mean, what other choice do you have?
As of
Well,
right now,
I think they're looking at the premier short tracks, Josh. That's what I'm saying. Like you
Okay.
said, Eldora is the premier short track.
right now, I wish they would stay away from any track that the Cup guys are racing on right now. Stay away from.
Right.
In my perfect world, no Bristol, no whatever. Just stay away.
But Josh, I think that's why they're saying the heartland of America, like the Midwest and all that, because there is
Yeah.
big dirt tracks out there with big grandstands.
Now
you know?
they didn't specify if it was going to be all dirt or is it going to be a mix.
No, it's going to be both because I mean they're talking about that Nashville Super Speedway or the Fairgrounds or Nashville Fairgrounds, I should say, and that's asphalt, but it has a very large grandstands.
Okay. Well, I think that would be.
Like the state fair type tracks that can hold like 20,000 people around it.
I know track that can hold 20,000 people.
Yeah,
North
but
Wilkesboro.
isn't it closed?
No, the front grandstand's closed, but the back ones are big. They can use those.
What track are you talking about, Tim?
North Wilkesboro.
Oh yeah, you're a
Never
ticket
heard of
holder
it.
for there, so you'll
Really?
definitely be at that race.
Where is that
Yeah,
located, Tim? Because I've never heard of it.
I tell you what, it's a great idea, though. I mean, Tim says he doesn't want them to go on any tracks that the NASCAR people are currently racing at, but maybe the closed ones, maybe a North Wilkesboro, maybe a Rockingham. It'd be perfect. If they hold 20,000, it's a great racetrack, and a lot of eyes will be on it because it's a racetrack we haven't seen on the schedule in a while. I like your idea, Tim. Maybe hit some of these tracks where Cup used to be at one time and they're not there anymore. Maybe even like an Orange County Speedway in North Carolina, something like that, where the Busch cars used to race.
Yeah. Here's what do you think about go to a track? We'll use Thompson or Stafford as an example, or Wall Stadium if you would hope they go there. They said it was going to be what, a 12-car field?
I don't know. I didn't hear anything about the car count itself, but 12 is a pretty good number. I think that's what IROC used to do.
Yeah, I think it was 12. Now hear me out on this. And I say you're gonna have your 12 drivers. I'm assuming some of the drivers are gonna be like you have a couple retired Cup guys in there, a couple IndyCar guys. And fill the 12 with those people, and then bring 2 extra cars, make it 14 cars, and say we'll say we're at Stafford. You go to Stafford. One of those extra cars goes to last year's point winner of the Premier Division. So say like Ryan Preece won the SK race, the points. He gets to drive one, and then have the second car have where the track promoters on the weekly racing series there pick 10 drivers, and then people can vote on them, on those drivers, and put that guy like a local hometown hero guy. Like
Tim, I think you're exactly right, and I think that by the little interview I heard Ray Evernham doing, he's open for something like that. He's not necessarily trying to pull NASCAR drivers that are currently in NASCAR, because I'm sure there's contract deals going on. He said he is looking at retired drivers, maybe like a Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon.
You're probably going to get a Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson can fit in if he's not driving anything by next year. Bill Elliott, people like that still want to race. Maybe even Dale Jr. It's a short track race and a safe race.
Morgan Shepherd.
Yeah,
you gotta have at least 10 good names in it for people to
right.
watch.
And then he said he was for pulling some local drivers that they might be at their home track or maybe a Winston Racing Series champion or something like that.
How cool would it be if they came to Wall Stadium and whoever wins the modified points, he gets in, and then you have like a 10 random guys. Scott Riggleman, Neil Rutt, all the drivers, and put them in there, and people can vote on them. And how cool would it be somebody like, we'll use Neil Rutt because your career's kind of over. Say like a Neil Rutt. How cool would it be like if he got on there and
he was talking to you, Josh, when he said your career's kind of over.
Yeah, how cool would it be for something like that?
Great.
I like how I won yesterday, but my brother says my career's over. I won yesterday. Like I was literally standing in victory lane less than 24 hours ago, but my career's over.
I don't think Richard Jones is going to call you to drive his cup car at your age.
Well, I'm sending my application in anyway.
Okay, how cool would it be if Scott Riggleman was able to win this race at Wall Stadium? It would help his career. I was using it as the stepping stone for the next generation.
Tim, I was even thinking about it for a guy like you. I wonder if they're going to use spotters. If they use spotters, it'd be a great little gig for you. I mean, you've been spotting all your life, but because you have 3 young daughters, you really can't do it on the full-time NASCAR schedule, but you could sneak away for 6 races. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I actually talked to Hot Pockets about that today. We talked about the same thing. It would be cool in a perfect world, but
I wonder if they're going to go with spotters with this, though. I know.
think so. Well, the thing is, did they?
Yeah, they will.
As far as drivers, I mean, would they do kind of like IROC did and possibly pull a guy from IndyCar, or what about getting like a Fernando Alonso or something like that?
I think Everham's open to anything. I think he's really trying to. Everham likes mixing stuff up to make things exciting, so I think he will mix it up where we'll see like one of the top F1 guys or IndyCar guy against like a sprint car driver like Kyle Larson or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
As much as I don't like to watch those races on TV, I did enjoy the IROC race when they came over to race. I mean, you want to have the best of the best, you got to have.
You know what happened to me too back in the IROC days, Tim? I would watch the IROC race and I would see someone like Emerson Fittipaldi or Eddie Cheever in it that I never really got to watch the race, and then I'd watch them and they do good. Like Little Al would do good. So now I would tune into an IndyCar race and watch it because now I kind of like Eddie Cheever because I watched him spin Dale Earnhardt out at Daytona, you know what I'm saying? So now I'm going to watch an IndyCar race to watch Eddie Cheever. I think it helps everything, it brings awareness to everything,
No,
didn't AJ Foyt do that too? Or did he run both just in over his lifetime anyway?
I don't know. AJ definitely drove IROC cars back in the day when they were like
the older Camaros, like the 70s style Camaros. He did. Oh yeah, it was great. I mean, I can remember it back into like the 68 and 69 type Camaros. That's how long IROC was around for. They would take breaks. They would go on like 5 years runs and then not do it for a couple of years and then start it back up. I mean, it was old Camaros. At one time, weren't they even Porsches, Tim? Didn't they go to Porsches?
I think the first year they were Porsche. Yeah. The very first year. And they were Dodge for a little while.
I mean, I think we all know that, like, obviously it didn't totally work out for IROC, in the long term. But I really like the idea. And I think, again, if you promote it right and you get, the right broadcast times and things like that, you can get people into it. I really think. And that's why, and Tim, you mentioned earlier, before we started recording, that because they already have inked a deal with CBS, it's kind of going to happen. I mean, this isn't like it's an idea and then we're going to never hear about it again. It's like, no, they already signed a deal, so most likely this is going to happen, and it may have a better chance of being successful because of that. If you already have a broadcast company behind it.
Yeah.
The point being, too, IROC was around a lot longer than you think, Josh. It was around 20 years, I probably.
Yeah, but in the fact that it's not around today,
Well, that Jason Norrie, he retired, and they kind of he was like the guy that ran that.
right.
They kind of like just that was it. They respected his decision to end it. Um, so who knows what's going to happen here? But you got to remember too, like Ray Abraham and Tony Stewart, they have to have connections with big name corporate sponsors. You know, they've dealt with them in the past. So
Oh
I don't
yeah.
think sponsorship is going to be the problem. I probably think they're going to use some kind of Dodge. I would have to, because Abraham's pretty close with Dodge. I would think that they're going to use some kind of Dodge. That's another thing. What kind of cars do you think they're going to use? I think they're going to use kind of like something based off like a mid-sized car, like the kids drift with.
All super modifieds.
Well, yeah. I think
they got to build something that's affordable to build because they don't have $1 million to build this stuff.
Yeah,
with.
they'll have
I'm
creative.
really curious to what type of car they show up with. You know,
I think it's
believe
going to
they're-
be probably along the lines of like an ARCA type thing, like where they'll have it'll still be like a tube chassis, but overall like a stock looking thing. And then it's going to come down to who provides.
Like a composite body, something
Yeah,
cheap. You know?
Yeah,
They'll probably have like a 604 crate motor or something a little equivalent to that. You know, something.
and then you'll have
affordable.
to figure out who's going to provide the power plants and things like that. But yeah, I think that's probably going to be the route. It's still going to end up being a stock car thing. But I would also like, because it's getting better, or people are becoming more accepting of some of the road courses. They're talking about running the Daytona road course, doing the Charlotte Roval. That
You
if
know,
they can
open up to New Jersey road course for that. That would be awesome.
Oh yeah,
All
no,
right,
that'd
guys,
be wonderful.
we'll get back to talking about this, but right now we got Michael Hager calling in from Bethel Motor Speedway. I just want to bring him on because he's short for time because he still has to write the results and stuff like that and get all that stuff posted for the Speedway. So I really appreciate him taking a little time out to join us. Michael, are you there?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mike, how are you?
All right, not bad for a Monday. Especially,
We were just talking about that in our pre-show. I was telling Josh I want to do this today at 7 and be done by 9 because I'm dragging ass, man. When you spend all day at a racetrack on a Sunday, it makes for a tough Monday morning. How are you? How are you doing today?
well, I probably feel the same as you do. It's happy thoughts, but no energy. You know, you're just the happy thoughts carry you through the day, and you keep thinking about all the good racing that was going on there yesterday and the highlights and things like that. And you're always looking to improve the show and make it better and what to do for next time, just like working on a race car and trying to figure out how to make it handle better or go faster the next time you get on the track. So
Hey, just to let our listeners know, we were just talking about the new series that Tony Stewart and Ray Abraham announced today. We'll get back to talking about that, but we just wanted to bring Mike Hager in. He's He's part of the management team up at Bethel Motor Speedway, and they did have a big race yesterday. It was a packed day. I mean, there was probably 7 or 8 divisions racing there, also with a demolition derby. It was a lot of fun, though. It was a great day. I mean, the weather was great. We did have a couple sprinkles of rain, but it never even got the track wet or nothing like that. Tons and tons and tons of race cars there. A good crowd in the grandstands. Mike, can you give us a quick rundown of what divisions were there?
Yeah. I would say, going by our car counts and things like that, I would say that the Legends were the headliner for the day. You had 28 of Legend cars that were in the field. And
you started them all too, didn't you?
We started, 2 of them got knocked out, one in practice and one in a heat race. So we ended up starting 26 cars.
Yeah, there was a lot of them out there.
Yeah, and they did a fantastic job.
I was worried that race was going to take a long time.
But,
They were going to time out before they finished their laps, but it went by really quick.
Yeah, we made sure we write it on the board. It was going to be 25 laps for 25 minutes. And we just, we warned everyone and said, hey, we got a lot of different drivers at different skill levels here. Let's show respect. And with the lap traffic, let's make sure the lap cars do what they got to do. And the faster cars going around, let's give them the respect to keep them out of the race and not use them as moving picks and things like that. And it went over really well. I think we maybe had 2 yellows for turn 2 spins, all basically one car by itself, and one little tangle right in the beginning. that really didn't knock any cars out. So it went over pretty well.
Yeah, sorry I interrupted you there because I did ask you to just give us a quick rundown of what divisions were there. You just said the legend cars. What else did we have there?
You had our open comp 4-cylinders, and then we had our own home track rule 4-cylinder, which is more like a pure stock. The open comp 4-cylinder is more open rules and allows different racing tires and combinations to try and get cars from other tracks and make it easy for them to come. We had the micro stocks there. It was like an AMSOIL series tour race for them. And we had our open comp enduro, which I'm sure you know about, Scott.
Yeah, I've heard about that race.
That's pretty good. And then we had our pro stocks and our INEX Bandoleros, and then we had our East Coast TQ Midget Club, and they break it down into 2 races. You got more of the modern type cars, and then your more of your vintage types. And then there was some 600 modifieds blended in with them, and a slingshot blended in with the micro stock. So it was a wide array of varied cars. And I'm not even.
So Josh, if you count all those divisions, there was about 10 divisions there.
Yeah,
but some of them all ran in the same race.
Yeah, I'm gonna start calling Bethel Motor Speedway the melting pot, because like Mike says, what they do, which is really, really cool, they kind of make divisions for everybody to race. Like they do have their track divisions, but then they have what they'll call an open comp division for that same division. This way a guy from Mahoney Valley or Evergreen or Riverhead can come out there and race. They might not fit the track rules, but they can have their own race. And then what happens to fill the field up, the guys that race their regular in their regular division, when their regular race is over, they'll bump up and run the open comp race, and makes for exciting racing.
I like that idea. I think more tracks need to do exactly that.
Because what I'm saying is, like, a guy from Riverhead might come and his car might be built better than the track class, but since the hometown track guy knows the track, it kind of makes it even, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, his car might not be built as good as the Riverhead or the Evergreen car, but he knows the track and he's able to run with him or beat him. And that track is pretty much evens the field out, just the way the track's shaped and designed and everything. It's a driver's track. It's not a motor track, you got to handle good, don't get me wrong, but it's a driver's track. You just got to know how to drive that track. You know, it's tricky.
Yeah, it's the track is definitely an equalizer, and yeah, if you look at some of the rules on paper, you'll be like, oh, well, this will never work. This other one is going to have an extreme advantage. And when I talk to guys and try and recruit them to come to run these races, I tell them, don't pay attention to what's on the paper. Actually come to the track and experience it, because it's easier for you to see it than it is for me to explain it to you.
Right.
Because once you get there, you realize that, well, even though the rules and the different combinations might sound like a disadvantage on paper, it really isn't. And it ends up being pretty fair racing. And, some cars are stronger in some parts of the track more than others, but overall, I don't really see anything dominant when you put together these open comp rules, and then you slightly tweak them as you go through the races and you gain experience. You know what to take away or what to add.
Right.
So it works out pretty well for us.
I mean, it was a great day up there. Even like me, I left New Jersey around 8 a.m. to drive up there, and even the ride up there was just a beautiful ride up there. The sun was shining, not a cloud in the sky. Coming up through the mountains, saw a lot of deer and everything on the way up there. All the, the grass is green, the flowers are blooming up that way. It was just a nice ride up there. The first complaint of the day, and I know I discussed this with you a little bit, and a lot of people were complaining about it, and I'm sure it's something you guys are going to address, was trying to get in the pits was a nightmare. There were so many race cars there, and we were backed up onto the highway. It felt like we were going to Woodstock, where they had to shut down the thruway to get into the place. I did suggest to you that maybe you could let the haulers pull in and collect. The one guy can pull a hauler and you collect his driver's license. Let him get inside, park the car. This way you can get all the haulers in and off the highway and out of the parking lot. And then when they come back to pay, you give them their driver's license back. This way they come back to pay, and they're going to come back to pay because they need their driver's license back. Something to help them move the line a little bit quicker. And you had another idea of like pre-selling the tickets out in the parking lot before you open the gate. Has your team tried to address this? Because that was the big complaint of the day. A lot of people weren't happy with that situation.
Yeah, we talked briefly about it at the end of the day. I offered some suggestions that could be a solution to the problem. I think I actually got caught up in the traffic jam about a half mile down the road where I got stuck in, and I couldn't move forward. You know, I had to wait for it to snake through. That's how bad it had gotten early on there. And sometimes you get your hands tied with the local ordinances and when you can open the gate. But yeah, if you can figure it out, you could set up a table with a tent and try and do the sales and get bans on people and stuff like that. And then if there's a parking attendant, we could probably swing more of the trucks and the trailers to go more inside of the parking lot down towards the tree line. And then form a fan you out like, 3-4 wide.
See, people, like a guy like me, I pull in and I see the lines backed up, and it wouldn't make sense to me to fan out, make 3 or 4 rows. But then you got people yelling at you, like, hey, I've been sitting here for an hour, now you're cutting the line. But if you have people from the racetrack out there telling you to do it, then it's okay to do it. And,
yes.
And I understand you have all these town orders about opening the gate, but it's just something you have to address, because what's going to happen, because you had the road all backed up like that, the town's going to complain that you're backing the road up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
right. We actually did contact the town, and we were like, hey, any way we can open up early, because you got a safety issue here where everybody's backing up on the road. Yeah. So they said, well, we'll let you open up early, but then you're going to shorten your curfew by the same amount of time. So, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, but it worked out. But it did create a bottleneck, and you just have so many different racing clubs coming in and so many people coming for the very first time. Yeah. And you want to make sure that you explain everything the best that you can and that they're happy signing in and getting their questions answered. So it's like, you don't want to come across with the wrong attitude, but yeah, it is a little bit difficult right in the very beginning with so many new people coming. If it's a regular class is running on a regular Saturday night, we don't have that hiccup. It's really for these more special type shows. And then you always get the jitters. You never know exactly who's coming and how many cars are actually coming. Are you going to get any? Are you going to get a whole lot? And you never know how to really actually plan as far as manpower goes and things like that, because today, so few racers are willing to give that commitment that you're basically left with an unknown question mark as you're driving to the track that day. Well, who exactly is showing up? What kind of
it was definitely a good problem to have, that there was so many race cars there. It was hard to get into the pits. It was definitely a good problem to have. Tim, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly what you said. That's a good problem to have. So be happy that you had that problem.
It is a great problem to have. I do have to admit that. It is fun to, I know it wasn't fun for you guys waiting in the line, but, when you come to the track and you think of yourself as a race fan coming for the very first time to that track, and you see this enormous display of cars waiting to get into this gate to go racing, it gets your adrenaline going, and it gets you excited.
Yes. But the other problem was that the racers with the race car haulers had the parking lot so jammed up trying to get in the pits. The spectators were having trouble getting in the parking lot, the park too, to get to the ticket booth.
Yes. No, it was a good circumstance to have. It wasn't ideal, no, but we weren't sure exactly how many cars were coming, and we do have some ideas and some solutions to these problems that we'd like to try. And, we want to make improvements each and every time that we do these things. So hopefully next time we can overcome that, or at least lessen the load for you guys to where you don't have that.
Yeah, Josh, just to give you an idea how many race cars are there, I was hearing upwards of numbers to anywhere from like 160 to 170 race cars were there. Was that true, Mike?
I think I counted up to about 143 cars, and then if you added in, I think 5 demo cars came at the end. Yeah. So that brought us up to about 148.
That's awesome. That, I mean,
all over.
Just one quick question about the demo cars. Mike. You might not know the answer to this.
Yeah. So,
But are you there, Mike?
yeah, go ahead.
Just one quick question about the demo cars. I used to do demolition derbies, and my brother used to help me build them all the time. So we're pretty in tune with the demo cars. I thought it was pretty funny when they were pulling, and I can definitely tell they ran somewhere the night before, and they were bringing their cars to Bethel to finish them off. But the cars looked like they were covered in like concrete or something. Like they must have did a demolition derby the night before at a place that was real muddy and it had like a shale type clay or something, because the cars it looked like you sprayed wet concrete all over the cars. Do you know where those cars came from?
I was hearing that they had been up in central New York the night before in the pouring rain doing the demo.
Yeah.
And we were worried about the demo because that was the last one that we really had time to put effort into to try and get cars. Mm-hmm. And we were getting some people contacting us, but nothing was firm. And then it was hard for us to really say, well, definitely bring the car, because I don't want a guy bringing a demo car up and there's no other car that shows up to be in the demo with it. So it was hard to really say, yes, definitely come, because there wasn't enough phone calls coming in. Yeah. But there was we probably got maybe 10 guys interested, but nothing was firm. And then we kept reaching out through other people that we knew. And then finally we found this group, and they're real hungry to do these demos this year because most of the county fairs are shut down in New York.
Right.
And I think in Pennsylvania too. So they're hungry they're hungry to do these demos this year because they've lost a lot of their outlets. So they wanted to come and try it out.
And I tell you what, we have the same problem at Wall Stadium. She pays big money for the demolition derby. Diane that runs Wall Stadium really enjoys the demolition derbies, and she pays big money. And there's times there have been 5 cars there, and she still pays the big money because it still brought a good crowd, and the crowd does love the demo derbies. I mean, the demo derbies have changed over the years. When me and my brother did it, we had over 100 cars. Those days are over. If you can get 10 now, these 8-year-old and 9-year-old kids in the grandstands, they'll love to watch a 10-car demolition derby. We don't need 100 cars anymore like we used to have when we were a kid. You only had 4 or 5 demo cars there, but I seen the kids standing at the fence and they loved it.
Yeah, the kids really get excited for it. And I remember being a kid watching them too. And it's a great thing to watch and to see those type of hits. And they weren't really hitting that hard yesterday because the cars were already all crunched up. But when you have a brand new one that's just getting the dents for the first time and they're picking up pretty good speeds, and you hear the sounds and you see the driver jolt around in the car and the seatbelt flex and stuff like that, and they got a bed mattress for a cushion on the left side, and they got exhaust pipes coming up through the hood and the smoke's coming out. It really makes you it creates memorable experiences as a kid.
But the one thing, I mean, all the cars that were there were pre-ran cars. And I know when me and Tim would sit in the grandstands when we were a kid, we loved when like a pristine car would come down the hill at Wall Stadium and enter the demo derby arena and not have one scratch on it. We'd be like, oh my God, that car is so beautiful. But then again, we love when these pre-ran cars came down the hill too. And they're like, how's that car even run? It's destroyed already. And then that'd be the guy that won anyway. Like he would make it all the way to the end. We're like, that car's going to take one hit and die, and because it was pre-ran, it was already
higher than the roof.
Yeah, right. But it got to the point where those cars can't bend anymore, and they're at where they're at, and they'll keep hitting. So sometimes watching the pre-ran cars pull out on the racetrack for a kid is just as exciting as seeing a brand new car pull down on the track too.
Yeah, I was pretty satisfied with what we ended up with.
That was awesome. I remember when Wall first brought back the demo derbies after a number of years being away, and I mean the excitement around it has been awesome, and they've gotten a lot of support. I do think there's one thing that it's been a little tough to nail down, and I don't know if you're having this issue or not, but there are some of the people that the diehard demo derby guys that they have cars that are specifically bulked up in certain areas, but then you have no, this is, you're allowed like this bar and a fuel cell, and that's it, because we want this car to crush, and so there, I know some guys have shown up and got turned away
Yeah,
because their
there
car was too
definitely is a
built.
big gap between the chain and bang cars, we call them, where you just strip them, chain them up, and go out and bang it, to the really built cars. There's really no in between. So you kind of got to open the rules up too with that, like they do for the open comp races, just to get cars. And I've been to demolition derbies where a well-built car didn't last very long, and a bone stock car beat it. So you never know in a demolition derby. So I just send them out there and let them have at it.
Yeah. But I just, that's one thing that it's going to be a little bit harder to nail down, perhaps, is, what's, figuring out the rules so you can get the most cars, but also, be fair. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, getting back to the race, and Josh, if you can at least pull up the winners here, we can talk about the winners. Mike, I really did enjoy the day up there. Like I said, the weather was great. It was warm out. It was hot in the sun, but if you sat in the shade or something, it was a beautiful day out up there. A couple things I noticed. I did go over into the grandstands. I did get 2 slices of pizza, because when you were on here once before last year with us, I told you how much I enjoyed the pizza, and the pizza was great. I did have a Mr. Pibb soda to wash it down with. Tim, they sell Pibb soda there. So that was good. 2 things I noticed that were missing this year, though. I didn't see any T-shirt sales, no Bethel Motor Speedway T-shirts or stickers. I didn't see them selling that everywhere. And I didn't see the lady there that sells the peanuts and stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on there, why they weren't there?
Well, the kettle corn ones, they love to come on Saturday nights. And then if it's a 2-day show, they camp right there.
Okay.
Because they live kind of far from the track. They live about 2 hours away. So then they camp out at the track, and then they come back. So I believe that when we rained out the previous night, then they don't feel as though it's worth their while to come back on the Sunday, because generally it's a smaller crowd.
Yeah.
And it's the travel time, and then I'm not sure if they have work on Monday morning and things like that.
Right.
So we don't push them. We have a good relationship with them, because we really like their kettle corn. It's like the best in the area, and they love it there, and they treat our fans and our customers and our racers really well. So it's a good fit, and everyone gets sad when they're not there, but it's something that is understandable due to the circumstances with the travel.
I think they would have did well yesterday, though, because there was a good crowd there. There really was. For a Sunday show, there was a good crowd there, and like you said, the pits were overflowing. So and you can walk. One thing I do like about Bethel, Josh, is you can be in the pits and walk over into the grandstands. You know what I'm saying? You're not
Right.
just
Yeah.
so you can go over there and see your family and say hi, and you can get something to eat at the concession stands and stuff like that, and then walk back over into the pits.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like that. That's always helpful, and especially if your family, like your wife, and you have a kid over there, you can go and visit them in between.
Right.
Which is awesome.
What about the T-shirt sales, Mike? Were you just low on T-shirts because of the COVID stuff, and you're not sure what's going on?
Yeah, when all that stuff started coming out in February, March, April, that's the time when you're planning all that stuff. That's when that stuff is coming together, because you get your schedule out. Then you start figuring out souvenir sales and getting organized. So all that stuff hit. So you don't want to put in these orders, especially stuff that has year dates on them and stuff that can get timed out, because usually that's when you're the most broke, is that time of year. Right. And you're really pinching pennies at that time. And then at the same time, you don't want to invest whatever remaining capital you have into something that you're not going to start seeing profit from until you hit August, September of the race season.
I mean, I'm sure you're not in charge of this, but maybe you are. I don't know. Did you ever try to do sales on on the website for Bethel Motor Speedway, like sell shirts and hats on the website itself?
We never got that organized to really do something like that. In a perfect world scenario, if you had the same team year after year managing it, and we were all working for the Speedway full time, then I would say that you could probably do something like that. But when we're all working full time and things, and you got stuff like that going on, It's really hard to get organized enough to say, all right, well, let's get in touch with our webmaster, and this is what we're going to sell on there. And, I just
thought it'd be a way for the track to make it look
haven't done it yet. Yeah.
For anybody that doesn't know, I've gotten involved selling T-shirts for different drivers. Selling T-shirts is the biggest pain in the ass.
It is. It really is.
You got all the different sizes.
Yeah.
And then people want them for free, and then everything else. So it's a big pain in the ass.
But I tell you what, their sticker, Bethel Motor Speedway has very nice stickers made up, and I bought a bunch of them when I was up there for Novemberfest, and it must be a big seller because I tell you what, when you come off Route 17 and come through Monticello, you see those stickers all over the place on the back of people's cars, on the back of people's trailers, even pulling in the racetrack. Everybody had a Bethel Motor Speedway sticker on their enclosed trailer. So I mean, the stickers are great to sell because it's like free advertisement. Once you sell the sticker, people put them all over the place. And the sticker you guys have made up, the logo is real big and it's real easy to see and it's real noticeable. I really like the Bethel Motor Speedway stickers.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your input on that. And yeah, I do like the stickers. They're and they do last a long time. They don't fade. So we probably would have reordered this year if things were under. We didn't even print a schedule this year. That's how everything was screwed up. Yeah. So it's just, everyone's kind of winging it this year because you never know what's around the corner. And this is not your typical race season. It's not. Kind of like,
we're even doing that with our regular race, and we're playing week to week. It's like you can't even plan ahead because I don't want to buy like 10 tires to go racing and then stuff gets shut down again. It might happen.
Yeah. And our racers up by us feel the same way. They don't have a lot of money to spend all this money on tires if they're not going to use them.
Right.
So, they only want to buy a little bit at a time because you don't know what's around the corner. There's no guarantee that you're going to race next weekend. You have to make it think that every weekend that's going on is their last race weekend for the season. You just don't know.
Right. Well, it was a great race weekend up there, and Josh is we couldn't find full results yet, Michael. I don't know if you put that stuff out, and we're wasting your time by having you on our podcast tonight, and you can't get them out, but we did find a list of winners. Josh, you want to give us the first winner of the first division?
It's like a 10-paragraph thing. It's a really nice description of how the night went, and they give some of the winners, but it's kind of like I have to pick through it to find results. Let's see, we have where I just had it highlighted too. David Donovan was one of the winners. I don't know what division.
Mike, do you know what division that was in?
Yeah. So David Donovan, he won the 4-cylinder home track rules race. So that was the first 4-cylinder feature that went out after intermission.
Right.
The Black 11X Chevy Cavalier, he won that race.
Okay, cool. I actually watched that race. That was a good race. I tell you, those 4-cylinders get around there good. There's a lot of 3-wide and even 4-wide racing sometimes. Sometimes they're coming out of the corner and they're 4-wide, and they look like they're all pushing to the fence coming off of 4. And somehow the last minute they all hook and turn and miss the fence. It's pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, they put on a really good show there, and then if they can keep their tempers under control, it's always 3-4 wide racing, and it's really good. Sometimes they boil over and then they get vindictive. But 90% of the time, it is very good racing there, and the 4-cylinders seem to be a perfect fit for that track. We never question whether that class is good for that track. It really seems to be probably the best fit out of all the classes that we have for that.
Now, was that division on a track tire, or were they on a DOT tire?
No, that's on DOT tires.
Okay.
Ooh,
and most of them on Michelin tire on it.
What's that?
Most of them seem to run Michelin tires.
Yeah, whenever you see a track run DOT tires, you see everybody kind of migrate to the same tire. You know what I'm saying? Because some guy will go out and win on it, and then you go look at, oh, he's got Michelin's on. I'm going to buy Michelin's too, and everybody ends up using the same tire anyway. You know?
Yes. Monkey see, monkey do.
I would say that was exactly how the factory stocks were. I didn't see a reason to go to a track tire because we were all running the same damn tire to begin with.
Well, and what happens too is like like I know when I started the factory stock, everybody was running the Fusion tires, Fusion tires.
Yep.
And then I showed up with Kumos, and the only reason I ran Kumos is because I found a set on the junk car, and the tread wear was right and everything, and I tried them, and they worked good. And then what happens too is sometimes these tires get discontinued on you. Like everybody loved the Fusions, but then the Fusion in our size tire got discontinued, so we all started scrambling to look for something else. Then I was winning, and everybody says, "Oh, he's running Kumos," so everybody got Kumos, you know.
I can't tell you how many Kumos I saw.
Whatever the
As far as the
town sells, you know what I'm saying? Oh, the guy right in town sells these tires. Let's run these tires, you know.
Yeah, as far as the results go and the story, I'm kind of like old fashioned with that. So, Area Auto Racing News has been very good to racing over the years in the Northeast and things like that. So I always want our story and our results to be printed there first and shown there first before I begin to release it everywhere else. And I know that's not the norm anymore with social media.
Yeah,
now
people
everybody
want instant results, you know what
puts
I'm
the
saying?
results out 2 seconds after the race is over. But I tend to give Area Auto the respect, and I really respect their journalism and their reporting and things like that. So I want them to get the results first. But often I do send racers the results and the story if they win and stuff like that on a side note before it gets released. But for the general public, most of the time I wait until they put it on, usually like Tuesday morning,
Right.
the new Area Auto online. And then at that point, then I start putting it on our website and releasing it in other areas. So that's why there is a little bit of a gap, I would say. You know, it got completed yesterday, but then I wait a little bit.
Okay.
Well,
All
no,
right, Josh,
at least there's
what's the next
reason
one?
behind it, which I really do appreciate, because I mean, what was it? The last episode we did, we were looking for Bridgeport results, and we couldn't find anything anywhere. And this week they were up really quick. I mean, it's, you know, at least you have a method to the madness, which is nice. The next one I have here is Alex McCollum.
Yeah, Alex McCollum is one of our most successful INX Legends racers we've ever had in the history of that track. He comes from a good family that really excels at that class, and he's gotten better, and he keeps getting better year after year, and he's become a very smooth driver. And really, that was a hard-earned win. That was a star-studded field of the top Legends racers in the Northeast, and you know, he came out on top, and he's done that a few times up at Bethel. They really got a good beat on how to make Bethel make their car fast at Bethel.
Yeah, Josh, one of our superstar legend car drivers were up there. The guy that drives the car that looks like Herbie the Love Bug.
Oh, Alcaro.
Is that who that is?
I think that's who it is.
Kevin Nowak from
Oh,
Long
yes,
Island.
yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Yes.
He wins at Wall all the time, and he was, I don't know where he ended up, but he ended up good. But usually at Wall he can dominate, and where at Bethel, like Mike was just saying, that the competition is very tough, and he had trouble passing some people up there, you know.
Yeah, I believe Nowak ended up second. Alan Peterson, another Long Island competitor, ended up third. So it was some very good racing. Sometimes, you know, the Legends are nothing but crash fest, but the last few times they've been up to Bethel for these special races, you know, we expect them to race good because it is a special, and they've really been cooperating and doing a good job. You know, that selfishness that some of the drivers have, it's not being displayed anymore.
Even though you're on a NASCAR track, and I know there's only a few divisions that are NASCAR there, the legend cars still race under the INX sanction at your track?
Yes, we like the INX sanctioning, and a lot of guys really go after those points and chase after it. So it seems to be a good fit for Bethel.
Definitely.
Their sanctioning fees are very fair, and I think that they're affordable, and I think that they give you good support when you need them. So I find them to be a good fit for Bethel Motor Speedway.
And one thing real noticing to the eye of the average fan for the legend cars this year is they switched tires. They're not on the BF Goodrich that they've been on forever, the DOT tire. They actually went to a Hoosier tire. What kind of feedback are you getting about the Hoosier tire? Are the legend car guys liking the new Hoosier tire?
I haven't really tuned in on a whole lot of it, but from the glances and the comments and the things that people have told me, it seems to be mixed. It's like half prefer it and then half don't, just like anything else in this country.
Yeah, right.
Half wants one thing and the other half wants the other. So it seems to be the same way with the tires on the Legends cars.
I tell you what, from the outside looking in, I think the Hoosiers look cool on the car. I think they look great on there. I
like the look on them. Yeah. The only drawback from a track point of view is now we give them a lap or two to scuff them in and get some heat in the tires.
Right.
The other ones, we didn't have to do that with them, so it does slow down our show just a little bit, but it all adds up, and I would say that's the only drawback I've seen. I haven't really gotten a whole lot of negatives about these guys.
Do you know if the lap times have improved with this Hoosier tire, or if they've gotten slower? Have you paid attention to that, or is the lap time still?
Right now, this year, the track's just been slower the whole year and across the board with with everything. I don't know if it's because the track is so green and it hasn't picked up much rubber, or if we lost some grip during wintertime, but it seems like every division, they all seem a little bit slower this year.
All right, Josh, you got the next division? I know Michael's on a short window here with us.
I have Joe Barnes.
Yep, Joe Barnes won our Pro Stock feature. He's been racing that car up there since, I don't know, I'd say 1992 in that same class. And he's won probably 100 features up there with that car and probably picked up 3 or 4 championships along the way with it. So he definitely knows that class. He definitely knows that car, and he's a smooth driver. You rarely see him make a mistake, and he easily won that race.
And that was a little bit of a missed opportunity for me. When I arrived at the track, I was told I could race with the Pro Stocks with my car if I wanted to, in addition to the open comp thing. And I thought about it. I looked at the cars. I knew they were built way more than mine. I mean, they're definitely above a street stock and right below, say, a late model. Kind of falls into like a limited late model type category. But there was only a handful of them there. So I said, I might as well. I'll give it a shot. I'm up here. I'll do some laps with these guys. And the only reason I backed out of doing it was because their feature was right before my feature. So it was just a timing thing. If they would have been like a few features ahead of mine, then I would have had time to get ready for the Enduro. I would have did it. But I kind of wish I would have went out there. But it was a missed opportunity. Maybe next time when I go up there, I'll run with the Pro Stocks as well.
Yeah, you'll have plenty more opportunities, I think. So we'll get it the next time.
What's the next one you got, Josh?
Some guy named Scott Riggleman.
Did they correct the spelling of my name on that? It was spelled wrong.
Looks correct to me.
Yeah, they corrected it.
And they spelled Enduro correctly, unlike Todd Deege.
I don't know if you ever noticed, Mike, but me and Josh are really into Enduros, my brother as well. And I just love everywhere I go, they spell it wrong. Enduro is a big one. They'll spell it ENDROU or UOO. We got one friend that spells it Enduro, like indoor, INDOOR, and with a big O on the end of it, So yeah, you guys spelled Enduro right, which was pretty cool. It was cool. It was fun. That Enduro was very fun. One of the exciting things they do, Josh, that we've never done with our Enduros down here, we were popular down this way for our Enduro starts being 3 wide. We would line up 3 wide instead of 2 wide like they do on a Saturday night. We do 3 wide rolling starts, which is pretty exciting for a fan because it's something we don't see. And it's pretty cool seeing these big cars 3 wide starting. And to tell you the truth, it was fun to do as a racer, Bethel went another direction, which I was a little bit weary about doing. I mean, I've been racing a long time, and I finally did something on a racetrack I haven't done ever. It takes something special for me to do something I've never done on a racetrack. They do kind of like a demolition derby. They line us up on the front straightaway, side by side like they would on a regular Saturday night. But they let the fans count down from 10 to 1 or 1 to 10. I couldn't really hear the fans. I don't know whether they count down from 10, Mike, or 5.
Depends on the car count.
Yeah.
No, I think we did 5 on that one because we were running short on time.
So they do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and they throw the green flag, and we leave from a
standing
stop on the front straightaway.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. Mike, I think that's a real great idea you guys have because it gets the kids and the fans and the grandstands involved with the start of the race. And I really think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun, and it actually is a strategic part of the event because it is probably the most unpredictable part of the enduro because you don't know if the guy ahead of you is going to get going or not. You don't know if you're going to get spun from the back. There's always something that hiccups there, and then it affects somebody. Someone might zig and someone might zag. So yeah, it's a pretty pivotal part of the enduro right at the very start, and the fans do love it, and they cheer for their favorite driver, and it does get them involved. And so yeah, they always prefer that. You know, sometimes the racers are like, no, let's do a rolling start tonight. You know, and then the fans are like, no, it's got to be
stick with it. It's cool.
The standing start. You know, so we have fun with it.
Josh, it kind of reminds me of like the old Le Mans days when the drivers had to run to the cars and jump in them and take off. That's what it kind of reminded me of. It was cool. I was a little weary about doing it myself too because I got an automatic. You know, I didn't know if I should start in first or second or whatever. And if you ever looked inside my car, I just got a screwdriver jammed into the transmission as a shifter, so there's really no alignment or nothing. I just got like a little paint mark where I lined the screwdriver up for second gear. So I'm like, I'm starting in second gear. I'm not starting in first and trying to shift the second, you know. Yeah, I'll screw that up on the back straightaway. So I just started my car in second, and I was able to take off pretty good, you know.
Well, I figure if you think about it, when they throw a red during an enduro and you stop, you have to, you know, you're going right to green anyway. So
and Josh, you're exactly right. I didn't even think about that part. But when I told Nancy, I said, the only thing I'm worried about today is I've never did a start from from a standstill. She's like, yeah, you have. She's like, you've never done a start from a standstill, but you've done restarts a million times from a standstill. You know, at Grandview with the Outlaw Enduro Series, they throw a red flag, you just stop at the racetrack wherever you're at, and then they throw the green and you go again. And once she told me that, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll be fine. And so it did work out fine.
Yeah, you're a little tighter together, but other than that, I think, But that sounds awesome.
So I had nobody in front of me, so I was fine.
Until it stalls out.
So the Enduro was scheduled for 60 laps. We had 16 cars there. I'm not sure if the track cut it down to 40 because there were 16 cars there or because they were pressed for time because we were up against an 8:30 or 9 o'clock curfew. What was the reason for cutting 20 laps off that race, Mike?
I would say it was a combination of the two. So it was like we were really pressing for time and we wanted to make sure we got that demo in.
Right.
And then at the same time, 60 laps for, I think, 18 cars that started that race is too long of a lap interval, I believe. So then it can get a little too stagnant. So we condensed it down to about 40 laps to keep it exciting. And it worked out well. It ran off rather quick. And we did have a couple spills and thrills and some exciting passes and stuff. But the guy in the lead, he really blew everybody away.
Yeah, he kind of stuck up the show a little bit next time. I had fun. I had a blast. My car was hooked up. I did go there last year with the 41 car. I knew I didn't have enough gear in it. I had fun last year with that car up there. I took my own car up there this time, the 7X I took up there. I put more gear in it, and that thing flew. And I really had it set up and handling well. It was great. The car was awesome. Mike said there was a few thrills and spills during the race. The one, I don't know how it happened, Mike. I didn't see it happen, but I did come around and I seen a guy, driver's door, up against the back wall fence facing oncoming traffic. Do you know how that accident happened?
I didn't see it. I might have caught the end of it, but I think it was just someone didn't lift when they should have. He was like the victim. I think he's a rookie driver, but he was minding his own business, and he's a good guy that when he signs in and he's in the pits and stuff like that. So I don't think that he would do anything malicious, but I would say a more experienced driver didn't give him a break and kind of punted him into the wall.
And the one of the exciting thing they do, Josh, is a true enduro. Wherever you're at, they just leave you there. They leave the car there, and this poor guy was there, and he was facing oncoming traffic. I did notice he was up against the backside wall, and I did notice an official did walk to the backside wall to make sure he was okay and everything was fine. Did he ever climb out of that car, or did he sit in the car the whole time?
No, he wanted to get out, and we actually were having a little bit of a debate on the radio whether we should throw the red, or if we should just try and get him out while the race was going on, because he was right against the wall.
Yeah, all he had to do was climb out, and he was over the wall.
So we didn't want to stop it because we thought that might do more harm than good. So we went over there with an official or two, and then kind of grabbed him out of the car as he was getting out, because he didn't want those guys, probably you, that big 8-cylinder coming off of turn 2, looking right straight at him every lap, because I think he probably crashed there maybe around lap 10.
Yeah.
So he had a while to go. Yeah. So so he was okay with it, and we asked him, well, if you want to get out, we'll help you out. And so he said, yeah, I want to get out.
So as the race was going along, Josh, this guy actually climbed out of his car, got out of the car as the race was going on. But I remember being a kid too, watching enduros. Half the excitement was now there's a car sitting on the track, and every time you got this one guy getting closer and closer, and you're like, sooner or later this guy's going to hit the car. And there was times I'd come out of the fourth corner, the second turn on the outside of somebody, and forget that car's up against the wall, and last minute I got to cut down left to get below that car that's sitting there. It does make the enduros more exciting and something different than an average Saturday night race.
Well, actually, Scott, you made me remember that one of the snow races where as the cars were going through, it was getting better. You could run a little faster each time,
right?
Because it was getting, the snow was melting and all that. And then all of a sudden, you'd come around and somebody had gone through the infield, kicked a whole bunch of new snow, and so you're going way too fast.
Yeah. And not only did we have that car up against the back straightaway fence, we also had a car dead between 3 and 4. And so now you got to duck under the car in the back straightaway and go around the car between 3 and 4. So it made it fun. That's part of the reason I like indoors. A couple reasons why I like indoors. I love no cautions, because once I get going, I hate slowing down and restarts and it just drags out. I love the longer distance races, and I love that every lap the track changes. There could be a bumper laying on the track. There could be oil on the track. There could be water on the track. And like we were saying before, Bethel, the size of Bethel racetrack is an equalizer. So is the track conditions, and in enduro it equalizes it.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. You said it earlier. We love enduros. So, yeah, if I can ever.
So I drive all the way up there, Josh. I spend about 12 hours at the racetrack. I win the enduro. I pull up to the flag stand. I'm so happy. Bethel's so old school. You still do your victory lap around the racetrack holding the checker flag. I'm so excited. I get to do a victory lap around the racetrack with the checker flag. I pull up to the flag stand. The flagger leans in my window and says, "We're pressed for time. We don't have time to hand you the checker flag and do a lap around the racetrack." So I didn't get my victory lap around the racetrack.
Oh, no.
I'm like, dude, it takes 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds, man.
Next time we'll give you 2 laps.
I'll do one the right way, and then I'll turn around doing an Alan Kowicki victory lap.
Yeah. Usually we charge extra for the Polish victory lap, but we'll give you that one for free.
But one cool thing Bethel does do, that Wall Stadium does as well, Josh, is they do have a victory lane up over by the grandstands. You do get your victory lap around with the checker flag real quick. You get the checker flag back, you pull off. You pull through the pits. They have a cool billboard set up that you park your car in front of. It says Bethel Motor Speedway winner and everything in it. The people from the grandstands can come stand with you while you're getting your picture taken. And it does help speed up the show, because while you're out behind the grandstands in their little victory lane, the track's open for the division to come down and get ready to roll,
Yeah. No,
and if you didn't win the race fairly, the fans let you know through the fence when you're getting your victory. So you got to be careful on how you win the races there, because if you do it the wrong way, then the next thing you know, the peanut gallery's after you through the fence with whatever they want to say.
And I tell you what, Mike, New Egypt Speedway takes it even a step further than that. They have the tech next to the grandstands, and they have like a wooden porch deck thing that they can stand on, and they're right above tech. So the fans in the grandstands can actually watch tech going on, and you can hear people from the grandstands say, "That car's illegal. Check his carburetor. Check his wheelbase." So like you said, you got to make sure you got to run a clean race at Bethel, because your victory lane's in the grandstands. Now you got to face the fans in the grandstands. And New Egypt, you better have a legal race car, because now you're in tech in the grandstand. People are right there. So it's pretty exciting.
I got a question for Scott. Mm-hmm. So from a driver's standpoint, did you think that turn 4 and the front stretch felt any different than when you were up there in November?
Definitely felt like I had more room coming off. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like I wasn't pinching the car as much to keep it off the wall. I can actually let it float up a little bit further. Why did you move the wall back a little bit?
Yeah, it was so bent up, and the weak spots were kind of like actually inverted. They were bowing inward from the earth behind it.
Uh-huh.
So we had changed that all out during the COVID crisis and straightened that out, and we probably opened it up about another 3 feet or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was definitely coming off of 4 where I was there last year at Novemberfest. It felt like you really had to keep the wheel cranked and not let the car drift up because it was tight. It was a tight exit coming off of 4, and this time I could tell I could let the car drift up, and I had more room to let it go up the track a little bit more.
3 feet's big. That's a lot.
3 feet's like almost a full lane for me. You know what I'm saying? You can give me a 3-foot hole, I'm going for it. But even going down the front straightaway, it seemed like the visibility was even better because the fence wasn't bowed in. Like you could see all the way down into the next turn, and and you can go through. One cool thing about Bethel, when you're standing on that track and you're looking at it, looks like a tight racetrack. But when you're out there racing, because the speeds are a little bit lower because it's a small track, there's a lot of 3 and 4 wide racing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a good show. It really is.
One thing scary about your racetrack, though, not for me, but for your flagger, that flag stand seems a little dangerous for me. It's low. It's right on top of the wall. Wall Stadium's flag stand used to be like that, but what Wall Stadium was, they put a couple telephone poles in front of the flag stand. This way, if a car came up over the wall, it would hit the telephone pole before it would hit the grandstands, where your grandstand's not very protected, but I do see the guy has an escape route. Like there's no gate behind him. He can actually dive off the flag stand and end up in the grandstands. Is that something you might want to address? Is that the safety of that flag stand a little bit?
I think that it's something that needs to get addressed because I see the same issues that you see. I get a little worried about the higher speed open wheel cars like an asphalt modified or a dirt car or a TQ midget, where they can really hop someone's tire. And then I've seen them, get some good air and climb up a wall and can knock down a flag stand that's low. So if I was a flagger on the flag stand, I would have a hard time relaxing during the open wheel faster divisions because my eyes would want to just watch coming off of 4 to make sure that something like that don't happen. I'm not going to look down in 1 and 2 or the backstretch. I'm just going to focus right there. And then if I see the jump, then I'm going to go jump through that escape route, like you said. But that creates another problem because you get some crazy race fan, a fanatic in there.
They can run on the flag stand.
You're right.
So if you black flag their father or something like that,
So when you have something like that, yeah, you have another risk there, or even a child or somebody could run through there. So that really isn't the solution to the problem because it creates other issues. I think eventually we got to get that flag stand in a little bit more safer position. Yeah.
Another thing too, Wall Stadium always had 2 flaggers on the flag stand. They always had an assistant flagger. This way, like you said, the one flagger can watch turns 3 and 4, and the other flagger can watch 1 and 2. So you got someone kind of like watching your back, where you could pay attention to the oncoming cars. You know what I'm saying? You just had one flagger on the flag stand.
Last night we did have one flagger. We were short a guy, so our turn 4 guy was filling in somewhere else, and then our assistant flagger ended up being our turn 4 corner marshal. So he was basically flagging by himself on the flag stand last night.
Josh, did they list the winner of the Demolition Derby?
Yeah, Austin Chrislin.
Do you know what kind of car that was, Michael, that won the Demolition?
It was so wrecked, I couldn't tell what the heck it was.
I thought I saw like a Dodge Neon out there, or a PT Cruiser or something like that. Hey, I think it was a PT Cruiser out there or something. Did you see that one?
That one, yeah, it looked like a cloud, like a sky or something like that. Yeah, it looked blue and white. But the one that won, I couldn't tell what it was. I think it was a 6-cylinder. I wasn't sure, though, but those cars came in late. I really didn't get a good look at them. They had snow tires on them.
Yeah, I know. I think the one even had like forklift tires on it. That's real big in the demo world too.
So I really can't tell you what exactly it was, but he definitely was the strongest car there by the end of the Derby. And then it looks like Joshua is reading from our super fan Bud DeGennaro.
Yeah,
He's our main fan, so he has a blog that he does, and he does a story each week of how he interprets everything that happens on the racetrack and his whole experience there. And he really loves the track, and it's really become his family.
It is a really nice write-up that I've been reading here and getting our results here. I mean, a lot of you can tell, like you said, super fan, because they know so many different teams and drivers, and they're given so many just awesome updates from it, which is just really awesome to see. And it's great to have dedicated fans like that.
And unlike Michael Hager, this guy doesn't care about Ariel Racing News' deadline. He just puts the results right out there. I did correct this guy. He spelled my name wrong, so I just put my name spelled Riggleman and gave him the spell of my name. And then he replied, which I thought was pretty cool. He said, "Thank you for racing at BMS, Scott. Sorry for the typo. I have only my best guess is the spelling of your name. I fixed it." Then he wrote this thing to me. He said, "You ran that race like a local ridge runner during the days of Prohibition. Great job on the feature, and 7S is a glorious number. Looking forward to seeing that 8-cylinder monster again up here soon." I thought that was pretty cool that he sent me a little note like that,
Yeah, that's a pretty good compliment.
Yeah. And Mike, me and you talked about it a little. I know the 4-cylinders. One thing I was worried about racing the Enduros up at Bethel Motor Speedway is the weight of my car. My car weighs about 3,400 pounds, and these 4-cylinders, they can get down to 12 to 1,500 pounds, you know what I'm saying, when they're all gutted out and everything. And even though I have more horsepower and a bigger motor, because of the weight, they can really do well on that small track because they're so light. Mike, do you know if I was the first one to win the open competition Enduro with an 8-cylinder rather than a 4 or a 6-cylinder?
I would say in our most modern era, yeah, you would be the first 8-cylinder winner in a mixed format event, especially an open comp enduro. Years ago, we used to do a lot of run what you brung type events, and back then it was even a wider array of cars that would compete, and often an 8-cylinder would defeat any type of 6-cylinder or 4-cylinder that was there. But in this newer era and more in the open competition enduro format, I think we had an 8-cylinder that finished second at the previous enduro in June.
Okay.
But you're the first one to win with an 8-cylinder. So you get that.
Just to let the enduro racers know out there that I know a few guys said, I don't want to bring my 8-cylinder. The 4-cylinders kill us up there. Just to let you know, you can win up there with an 8-cylinder. So, if you have an 8-cylinder and you want to have some fun in an enduro, bring it. Come run with us. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of fun. I did get a couple compliments, and I'm pretty sure these people were from the Hager family because they were so happy that an Oldsmobile won because So I think I made your family proud that I won in an Oldsmobile. I have an Olds Cutlass.
Yeah, we have it. We had it up there. We have an Olds F85 65 Cutlass, and we ran it up there in an open comp enduro at the one you were in November. I don't know if you remember. We lost oil pressure with it. But we plan to get that up and running and run some open comp enduros. We got a Chevy Malibu that we want to get in there with a sealed crate 602. We want to get that in the open comp enduro and try that and see how that goes. So now that you've won, maybe more guys would get more serious with bringing their 8-cylinder cars. And you do have a little bit of an edge because these 4-cylinder guys, they come to me and there is a fear factor, like how he said it was an 8-cylinder monster. Well, these guys with these 4s, especially the ones without the cages, they're like, well, you're going to let that car race? Yeah, that's allowed. But I don't have a cage. Well, maybe you should think about putting a cage in if you're not worried about it. I said, you don't have to run it if you don't want to. I don't want to make you do something that you're not safe doing.
Yeah.
And the the two guys that were questioning it, they're like, no, it's all right. We'll run the enduro. But there is a little bit of a fear factor, just kind of like
I always look at those four cylinders too.
Way,
Yeah, I always look at those four cylinders too. They don't really need like a race car cage. They can actually do like a demolition derby cage where they just put like a spreader bar across behind the back seat, and maybe a bar up over the roof or something like that. Just something to stiffen the car up if you can sit from the side. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I agree 100%. We don't really require the cage for the enduro because there's so many enduro cars that don't have the cage, but we definitely recommend improving the safety of a car because we don't see an enduro car as something that you're going to junk at the end of the day.
No, you're going to get a few years
hold on for at least a season.
Right.
Try and make the safety upgrades and try and make a longer use of that car instead of just junking it after one enduro. True enduro traditionalists, they want to junk it right afterwards or run it in the car right after. So.
All right, Mike, I don't want to keep you too much longer because I already have you over your half-hour time allotment.
Yeah.
But I did want to touch base real quick about the vintage cars over there. It's so cool seeing the old cars, the old coupes, the old dirt-style cars like your family owns, and the Freddie Harback car. What a beautiful car. I got to talk to Freddie Harback's son-in-law. That's who has that car now. It's the last car that Freddie Harback raced. Even the very last race he raced in it, he won the feature, and they parked the car after that, and Freddie retired. And then just a few years ago, Freddie passed away, and the son-in-law has taken the car out to show it and display it. And he's got a beautiful enclosed trailer set up with pictures of all the old race cars in the trailer and on the vinyl graphics on the outside. They're doing a really nice display, preserving the history of Freddie Harback. Me and my brother grew up watching Freddie Harback race at Egypt Speedway when it was a quarter-mile asphalt track. We also watched Freddie Harback at the Race of Champions at Pocono. We always enjoyed watching Freddie Harback race. He was a very nice guy. What a beautiful race car. How did you like the vintage cars up there?
I'm a big vintage car enthusiast. The one with the Harbaugh car, it's just amazing. He's a friend of the family, and he's loving it. And it broke my heart because we had to yank the victory lap, and after he won his race too, and that was his first career victory too. And he was like, he kind of had his hands up, He's like, "Come on!" And and we were just like, "No, we got to make sure these other guys run. We don't want to run out on our curve here." But he's having a great year. He went down to Evergreen Speedway and he had a great time there. He's been at Bethel 2 times. He has an older Freddie Harbaugh car from the early 70s too.
Yeah, that's the next one he wants to restore. It's down in North Carolina or something. He's trying to get it up here so he can restore that one.
Yeah, and Freddie Harbaugh, he was a very respectable old school racer, and he hung it up pretty much right when he was like on top. You notice he was fading a little bit, and if you talk to his son-in-law, he was like in an accident, and then that was enough for him to say, you know what, my skills aren't as good as they used to be, so I'm gonna stop doing this now before I hurt myself.
Yeah, he was 55 years old. I think the son-in-law told me it was when Freddie finally stopped racing. He was 55 years old. Beautiful race car, beautiful, remembrance of Freddie. I did park next to your family vintage car, so while I was sitting there, I did get to look it over a little bit. Some pretty cool stuff I saw in that car. Number one, it's leaf spring car in the rear with kind of like a wedge bolt. Like each side has an adjustable shackle, and I'm assuming that's like a wedge bolt to set ride height and put cross weight in the car, to cross weight out. I thought that was pretty cool. Another cool thing I noticed on that car too, Josh, you'll like this because you're an IndyCar guy. We're talking about a dirt car from the 60s and 70s.
Mhm.
Well, the front hub spindles had the single nut on the front, like IndyCar. And if they're from IndyCars and old Champ cars from back in the day, they started using them on dirt modifieds. And I think it was your brother I was talking to, Michael. He was telling me the reason they went to those single lug nut hubs on the front from the IndyCars and the Champ cars is because it was the only way you can go to disc brakes back then.
That is correct, and they're actually pretty rare to find right now. To find, authentic ones from that era, but that car was probably based like in the 1977 era, mid to late 70s. That's what the best guys were running back then, and if they got their hands on those, it was an advantage because then they could set up better brakes on those cars.
Right.
And that was like the big thing that during that time was to put that on there. So it's a pretty true, authentic car from back in the day. And then the other car next to it, the Stars and Stripes number 11, that's like my uncle Ed Stevens. That's an original car that sat unrestored in his yard for many years, and it just got completed recently. A lot of us helped and volunteered to get that car ready for him. Ed is now 80 years old, so he really, that's the first time he saw that rolling on a racetrack anywhere.
Really?
Yeah, and my brother John was driving it, and he was tickled pink to see a car that he had raced in the late 60s, early 70s, fully restored to the way that it was, and competing around a speed. Yeah, so that made his day. So we were happy about that, and it looked sharp on the track, and so I was happy with the amount of the vintage modifieds that were there. There was a beautiful Don Greco number 43 there too.
Yeah, that car was cool.
That's another one. A friend of ours that recently completed that. He's been taking it pretty much everywhere, and it was a good day for them. They're having fun, and I was happy with it.
All right, Mike. Well, we really appreciate you coming on. I know it's a tough Monday for all of us because we spent the whole day at the track on Sunday, and we got to get back to our day jobs on Monday. And here it is Monday night. We're still talking racing. I just want to tell you it was real enjoyable for me to go up to Bethel. Anybody that's listening to us right now who's never been to Bethel Motor Speedway, take a trip up there. It's so worth it. It's 180 miles from my house. It's probably 160 miles from Wall Stadium to give you a little bit of an idea how far it is. From my house, it's 160 miles to Evergreen. It's 180 miles to Bethel. So it's only like 20 miles more than me going out to Evergreen. It's a real enjoyable ride up there. You can even make the day out of it. It's a beautiful little town. It's right on Lake Cunningunga, which is a cool little town. It's got little restaurants and bars and all that stuff. It's a beautiful part of the country. So definitely check it out. You can go on Bethel Motor Speedway's website to get their schedule. It's a great time up there, and I really appreciate what you're doing for enduro racing with the open competition stuff. It gives us a place to go and race our cars. Anything else you want to close with, Mike?
I just want to thank Tim, Joshua, and you for having me on, and thanks. I'm glad to hear you had a good time. That's the most important thing. Is even racers that are there for the first time, we want to make sure that they like it, and even if you finish poorly, you're still leaving out of there with a smile. Now you won, so you're going to really like it. But
I smile all the way home to New Jersey. I can tell you that much.
But I think a lot of people were leaving there happy. I didn't see a lot of disappointment on people's faces, and that's what makes you feel good. So, let's continue to support the local short tracks. Get out there, buy the grandstand tickets if you can, if you're allowed in there, and eat their track food, buy their 50/50s, because we got to keep this going on for the next gen.
All right, Mike, I'll see you at the next open competition, Doro, and thanks for coming back on the show.
All right, much appreciated, and have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Good night, Mike.
Good night.
All right, take care.
Hey, everyone. Do you know the difference between Bob Ross and Eric Brennan? Bob Ross has talent.
He had hair, too.
That too, Josh. Now back to the show.
And we're back. Man, I miss Eric Brennan. Because the jokes aren't as funny anymore without Eric Brennan around.
I saw Joey Chestnut.
A lot of material to work with.
Did you see Joey Chestnut won? Was it a record 75 hot dogs or something?
Oh, I did see he won again, but I didn't see the total. How did that go?
I want to say, was it 75 hot dogs in 12 minutes or something?
That's flat out disgusting. Was anybody even close? He usually beats it by like 20 hot dogs,
I think he had a lead by 10 or something.
Yeah.
But
Tim, did you watch that?
I saw it. Yeah. I did.
Did the kids watch it?
No, we just saw like a I think on Channel 12 News after it was over. We didn't watch it.
Like a highlight thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that grosses me out watching it.
Yeah, it does. It does. I actually seen it in person one time. Not the final one, but they had like a playoff at Pocono Raceway one year. I was there, and it was all the area eaters, the local eaters, and if they what they did is they did like 8 cities or something across the nation, and they'll take the winners of each city, and they qualify for the final. And just watching that one was disgusting. And they only ate like, I think the most was like 40 hot dogs, if even that. And it's just disgusting. But it's funny though. It is funny. It's a good time. People are laughing and stuff.
It is interesting to see how like a lot of times they'll do the dog part, and then they like dip the bread in the water and like just mush it to make it take up as little space as possible. I mean, I get it.
It just shows you no matter what your hobby is or what your sports is, there's different theories and different ways of doing it. Someone better than you at doing it or not as good as you doing it. Like no matter, like I started drinking coffee as a hobby after my weight loss surgery. I just wanted one vice where I could enjoy something. And for some reason, after my weight loss surgery, I started enjoying coffee. So I started drinking it, and I put it on Facebook. I'm like, I just throwing it out there. 47 years old, and I became a coffee drinker. And people start messaging me and giving me advice and telling me I'm making it wrong and I'm using the wrong stuff. And if you're not drinking it this way, I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't even have a simple hobby as drinking coffee,
Well, what is it? Like now, I enjoy my beer, and I even enjoy some craft beer. My neighbors have a brewery in town, and they make some awesome stuff, but I don't like every single kind. But you will get lectured by so many hipsters on how it's supposed to be, how many hops, and can't I just enjoy it?
I want to. Racing's my hobby too, but that's a very expensive, time-consuming, well thought out, difficult hobby. I wanted a simple hobby where just relaxes my mind, and I chose coffee drinking, and it turned into this big thing, So I don't know. So, listen, everybody out in podcast world, let us know how you like your coffee. I got a Keurig with the K cups. I ended up liking the Folgers the best. It's the regular Folgers, and I drink it with one sweet and low. And I like the powdered creamer better than like cold milk in my coffee. I like cold milk in my coffee, but it cools it down, So I actually like that powdered creamer better. That's how I drink my coffee.
My mom always drinks her tea and coffee like scalding hot, so I don't understand it. So I like having the milk because it brings the temp down just a little bit for me. That's all. Anyway,
all right, so back to the race. We got 25 minutes to finish up the show. I did go to New Egypt Speedway. I've been doing something pretty cool. Me and Nancy have been doing something pretty cool. If we're free on a Saturday night or if they're racing a midweek show, we pretty much threw Warren Alston and Larry Reed and the owner of New Egypt Speedway. We have an open invitation to bring the tow truck there whenever we want and help them work with the track crew. It's a lot of fun. The track crew guys are great. It's a way for me and Nancy getting
When did you go?
What's that?
What day did you go?
It was Saturday.
Saturday. Okay.
I worked on my car all day Saturday morning, got it all loaded up for Bethel for Sunday morning. Saturday night, Nancy came home from work. She said, "What do you want to do tonight?" I said, well, Elliot Wall's having a surprise birthday party for his mother. So we had the choice of going to Elliot Wall's house for a party or going to New Egypt and watch the races. And actually, Nancy said, let's go to New Egypt. The sprint cars are there. The street stocks were there. Shannon Manja was racing Rob Ormsby's car. We wanted to check that out. Jimmy Blewett was over there racing. I called Jimmy Blewett to see if he was racing Mahoney Valley or New Egypt Speedway. He said he was racing New Egypt Speedway. So we chose to take the tow truck over to New Egypt Speedway. It's pretty cool, Josh. Me and her just load up in the truck. We stop at Wawa. We grab a couple of diet iced teas, or maybe a turkey sub or something. Go over to the racetrack. They let us sign in with the tow truck. We drive around the back gate. We pull out in the infield. Sit there, eat our subs, drink our coffee, iced tea, whatever it is. Watch the races. There's a wreck. We go out there and tow it off. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, racing was good over there.
Wait, Tim, what was your question?
Who bought the subs and the iced tea?
Nancy bought the subs and the iced tea. And the subs always, and here's why: because she likes turkey and Swiss subs with spicy mustard. So she just gets the 10-inch one or 12-inch one, whatever it is, and when we cut it in half, I eat half, she eats half. But she ran in and she paid, so it was even better yet.
Now the thing is, Scott, you said you had a choice of where to go, and I know the real reason you ended up at New Egypt.
Big L, looking to stick it in there on the inside of Riggleman.
You know what? I did want to go to Ellie's mom's birthday party because Ellie's mom's the nicest lady in the world, and happy birthday, Ruthie. But I just known if I went to Elliot Wall's house, it would have been an all-night thing. I would have been there at 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to leave here like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning to go to Bethel. I knew it was going to be a long day. I knew New Egypt usually gets over around 10, 10:30. We're home by 11. I can be in bed by midnight and up at 6.
So it's like a podcast. You just won't shut up.
Yeah. So we went into New Egypt, and it was great. The racing was great. They had the 305 sprint cars there with the wings, and it's super fast, and they're real cool to watch. They had the street stocks there. Our buddy Chris Felber was there, Josh.
All right.
Yeah, Chris Felber was there in the famous black 357. He's also a listener of the podcast. Todd Deej was there with a beautiful, beautiful street stock. Shannon Manja was driving Rob Ormsey's brand new, beautiful street stock. And there's a couple old classic street stocks out there, too. Pretty much look like my Enduro cars, too. So it was cool watching the street stocks.
So wait, you said Todd was racing the street stocks. How does he spell that?
But, yeah, the Modifieds put on a good show. They only had, I think, 8 or 9 street stocks, so they didn't have heat races. Our buddy Felber wasn't even there in time to practice. My man just rolled right out into the feature.
That is so Felber.
And Chris Felber had a great 10 laps of racing. It really ran great for 10 laps. The problem was the feature was 20 laps. He had a mechanical. I tell you, he was running decent, though. He was running good. He's cruising around there. And he does have a newer car now. He did build a newer car.
Yep.
It's still not quite what like Todd Deej and Shannon Maggio have, but he built a newer car and he was running well with it. And unfortunately, something broke at the 10 lap mark for him, and he had to pull off. And I didn't get a chance to talk to Chris to see what happened. But it's good seeing Chris still out there having fun. He's one of those guys that win, lose, or draw, he leaves there with a smile on his face, and he just enjoys driving race cars.
Oh yeah.
Shannon Maggio had him covered. He was flying. We were running really good. Todd Deej was fast too, but Todd halfway through the race had a distributor break, and it was a scary moment because he was running like third when it happened. So he had a good amount of cars behind him, and this came off the fourth car. His engine started popping and backfiring, and he lost power. And now he's getting run into in the back because he's stopping in front of the field. So it was a little bit of a scary moment, but everybody got through it without a bad wreck. And I did talk to Todd after the race, and he said his distributor broke. That's what happened. He said it's the third time that it's broke, so he's got a problem there. He's looking to figure it out. I said, you just start fresh, go buy a brand new distributor. You know what I'm saying? Buy a better one. So he's got a little issue there. When he gets that worked, Todd gets his bugs worked out of his car, I think he'll be able to run right with Shannon. Shannon had him covered. He was running really good, real smooth race. I thought he had a right front flat tire. I'm pretty sure he had a right front flat tire, but someone said a shock broke, but there's no way they changed the shock that quick because he went in the pits and they just want one to go, and he came back out and they let him join the tail end of the pack,
Mm-hmm.
And within 5 laps, he was back up to second, and he almost passed the guy for the lead. He really needed one more lap, and I think Shannon would have got him. But he ended up finishing second after having a flat tire.
Wow.
It was a good race. It was fun. I love the street stocks. It's a shame there was only 8 or 9 of them there. Of course, I would want to see more. But it is a new division over there. The street stocks weren't racing over there for a little while, so now they're back. So hopefully that builds up a little bit.
So that's what became of the outlaw stocks?
Yeah, the outlaw stocks. I don't know why the name changed to street stocks, but they are a little more advanced than what they used to be.
Okay.
But it was pretty good racing. I mean, I think now that people kind of seen there was only 8 or 9 cars, and I think they were a little worried about how fast Shannon's car and Todd Deej's cars were going to be. And now that a guy went out there and still won with the older style car, I think more people will show up now. They'll be like, oh, yeah, I'll go race and see what happens.
Yeah, you might get at least
I think as the weeks go on, there'll be more and more cars there,
Well, yeah, because, I mean, I know Todd has some really nice equipment, and, he puts money into his cars. And we all know from our experience that, Shannon knows what he's doing out there between the car and driving. So, they're going to be tough to beat. But like you said...
But it also proved, all winter, there was 2 cars people were worried about in that division. The car that Rob Ormsby was building for Shannon to drive, and the car Todd Deej was building for himself to drive.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 cars they were worried about all year both had problems and didn't win the race. So this shows you, even though on paper you might be beat,
Yeah.
still go and race. You know what I'm saying? It's a race. Anything can happen.
Oh,
You know
exactly.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And you got to be in it to win it. I mean, there's a lot of times I go to races, I'm not the fastest car there, and before you know it, the fastest car breaks a distributor like Todd did, or gets a right front flat tire like Shannon did. Next thing you know, you're in position to win. So just go and race. Go and race and see what happens. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. But so at least you had a good night. It looked like it was a good show.
It was a good show, but modified time came out. Modifieds put on a great show there. They really have a good field of modifieds, and there was a bad flip. Pat Wall flipped, and I don't know if I didn't know Tim saw the pictures on Facebook. Did you see any of the pictures of that on Facebook, Josh?
No.
That car got the most air I've seen a full-bodied race car get in a long time. That thing was very high up in the air, and it wouldn't stop flipping. It just kept flipping and flipping and flipping. Very fortunate Pat got out of the car. They did something kind of cool that I always wondered this too when I was a kid. People would flip a Wall Stadium, they'd make the guy crawl out. It's like, just flip the car over with the guy sitting in the car.
Yeah.
And they did that at New Egypt. They actually flipped the car back on the wheels while Pat was still in the car. Of course, they checked, make sure he was all right. The fire truck was there in case there was fuel on the ground and a fire happened or whatever. But Pat's like, just flip it over and I'll get out. And they flipped it over with the tow truck and set it down pretty nice. And Pat was able to climb out. And he was a little shaken up. It was a bad flip, you know.
I kind of wonder, it might, in a way, being that there was no fire, it might be good to practice getting out upside down or on your side or something like that, because God forbid there is a fire and you have to. It might be good to, know which way.
It hurts, though. It hurts, man. When you're hanging by your
I'm not
desk,
saying it's going to be
belts.
fun. Oh, yeah, you let go and then you drop on your head or something. No, it sucks. But at the same time, if it comes down to it, if you're conscious and...
Josh, do you have the results for New Egypt pulled up? Can you pull them up real quick while we're talking?
Hang on. I think I have Bridgeport. Where did you send me New Egypt?
No. I don't even know where to find them, to tell you the truth.
All right, hang on. I might have it over
But
here.
the modified race was won by Billy Pouch Jr., which is cool that, we always had Billy Pouch racing for years and years, and now his son comes along and he's doing just as well. I felt, I don't know who it was, but it was a number 13 car. He had that race won. He was gone. He was pulling the field by a straightaway, and something broke. I mean, something just broke, and he had to pull into the infield. And I felt so bad for that guy because when he pulled into the infield, he was close to the tow truck, and you can just see him sitting in that car dejected, and I really felt bad for him.
I'm pulling up the message board right now so I can go through it. Keep talking, Scott. I need a minute.
And then in the sprint car race, there was another flip, and I actually towed that one off the track because there was like nothing left of that sprint car. He got loose coming off of 4, and he just did one of those things where he was trying to save it and correct it, and it was kind of like fishtailing down the whole straightaway, and then finally he just clipped somebody going by, and he started flipping, and it was a pretty bad flip, and the front end of the car was completely ripped off. But one thing I liked about those sprint cars, they do have the wing on the top, where the week before they had the 602 sprint cars there, and they don't have the wing on it. I just think that wing helps because when you're flipping, it acts like a big pillow up there, and it takes the brunt of the flip, and he was able to climb out of there unhurt too.
All right, so I do have the results pulled up. So where do you want to start with that?
Let's do the top 5 in each, whatever division you want to mention.
Okay.
Just doing it in order it's listed.
So we'll start with the rookie sportsman. So that was an 8-lap feature. Mason McGee gets the win. Paul Mancini, Amanda. I don't want to. Is that Buckle or Buckle? Will Protnick and Jimmy Avery. That's all that was in the race. So that's
some rookie divisions for people that have no racing experience that are trying to start out in a sportsman division. They just have a separate race for them and let them go out and duke it out for 8 laps, and then they're allowed to try to qualify for the regular race. It's just a way for them to get their feet wet and get used to race cars before they get into the main division.
Okay. Now we talked about the street stocks. Bill Leitka gets the win over Shannon Monjo, as we talked about. Rich Stinson, Spider Ensinger, and Brian Ludwig.
And I tell you what, Spider Insing's out there with an older style street stock, and he runs very well with it. He's famous for having that red ramp truck down by your house. Josh, you ever see that thing down by you?
I think I have seen it once or twice. Yeah.
It's I think he works at like some type of auto repair place down there, and I always see it parked in the parking lot down there.
Okay.
He's been racing forever, right, Tim? Spider Enzinger? He used to race when we used to go to East Windsor and all that stuff.
Tim's trying to unmute him. Too.
Yeah, he's definitely been around a long time, yeah. Big Al Cheney wasn't there?
No, he hasn't been racing lately. I don't know where he's at nowadays.
No. He was always another one who was raced a long time.
Where did our buddy Chris Felber end up? Let's just give him a shout out.
8th.
He'll be back, though.
Just behind
He'll be
Todd.
back stronger than ever.
Yeah, no, he'll be back. Like you said, there's 8 cars. It'll pick up as it goes. And oddly enough, we're early in the season, being middle of July.
Yeah.
Just with this year being a little funky, but we'll see how it pans out. So now we'll move on to the Sportsman results. Jim Hausworth, Bob Lineman, Dave Burns, Joseph Brown, and Will Dupree. I don't know if you have any comments.
No, that's fine. We can move on to the next one.
Okay.
Sportsman race is good. They got a ton of sportsman cars over there. They got a real lot of sportsman cars, and it's a real exciting race.
Yeah, it shows 16 cars with 2 did not start, so 18 cars really. So we'll go on to the Mid-Atlantic Sprint Series.
Which are 305 engines, which is pretty cool.
Really?
In sprint.
Really?
Yeah.
305. So, okay.
Yep. They do that to keep the costs down.
Okay. No, that works. I'm glad that 305s get a use. Tim Tanner Jr., Kevin Nagy, Jeff Geiges, Mike Hagenbottom, and Mark Bittner are your top 5. Now we'll move up to the Valco Wheels Modifieds. Billy Pouch Jr., that name doesn't sound familiar at all, huh? Mike Butler, Ryan Kraken, Brandon Grosso, and J.R. Fulper are your top 5.
Yeah. And our buddy Jimmy Blow, he finished 7th for the second week in a row. He did run better, though, than the first time I was there watching him. He is getting better, but he still ended up 7th. It seems like he's struggling with the handle in that car a little bit. This seems like his car, they all bounce in the center of the corner, without a doubt. But his seems like it just bounces a little bit more than everybody else's.
Now, I do want to give a shout out to Chris Garback. He ended up in 13th there. They had, it looks like 23 cars, and 3 cars did not start on top of that. So that was a good field.
Yeah, it's always a strong field over there. Another guy that runs good over there, which is your favorite dirt modified driver, Josh, is Cody Kessler.
Oh,
he actually runs pretty good over there. He finished 5th the week I was there before, and I think he was behind Jimmy this time. I think
he was 9th.
Yeah, he runs good. No,
I'm sure he knows how to drive. I just, I like to tease because he famously made a terrible decision.
He's exciting to watch. Start calling him Mr. Excitement. He's exciting. Yeah, it was a good night over there. It was a lot of fun. I think that was all the divisions, right, Josh? I don't think
that's all I see up here. So unless they ran some, micro sprints or something that I
no. They keep it a pretty short show, pretty tight schedule over there. They run it off pretty quick because you got to remember during intermission it's about a half-hour track prep too. They got to do in between the races and the feature. And the one thing they did pretty cool for a guy like the Majos and Todd Deeges, because the street stocks only had so many cars, they actually raced before intermission. So like a guy like Chris Felber, he literally shows up at like 7 o'clock and he's on his way home at 8 o'clock. He doesn't sit around there all day. He rolls in there.
He'll be at the brick
he
house
having a practice.
Yeah.
They run the regular division heat races and then they send out the feature. And you're leaving there by 8 o'clock if you want.
No, he'll be on his way to the brick house, have a couple drinks, and he'll be
He's
happy.
It's like, Scott, I love it. I leave my house at 6. I get there at 7. I race by 8. I'm out of there by 8:30, and I'm on to the rest of my Saturday night. I tell you what, Chris Felber was a great guy. He's just one of those guys that smiles through life. You know what I'm saying? Like he finished 12th in a race, and I can win a race, and he had more fun than me.
The only time I've ever seen him not, smile. I'm sorry. There's very few times. His dog passing away, and when his car slipped off a jack, we were trying to move it out into his pit stall, and so it had 3 wheels and a jack, and we were rolling it, and it hit a little bump, and the hood slammed shut and crushed his thumb. And like tore some like tendons and stuff. He ended up going to the hospital. Lisa had to go pick him up after he was released, and it was nasty. I mean, luckily it was, he's fine, but I mean he definitely had some injuries. But those are the only times I've seen him not smiling and laughing.
Not only is he a fun guy to race with, he's a good drummer. He's also he plays the drums very well.
Oh yeah,
multi-talented guy.
He's a lot of fun. He really is a lot of fun.
All right, let's move down to Bridgeport. We're going to do this quick because I'm trying to get off here in about 10 minutes. Main reason we do the Bridgeport results because of Lee Allen. If we don't do it, Lee Allen will kill us, and Lee Allen's a big guy, so we're better off just doing the Bridgeport results.
I don't know if you noticed, but he actually tagged me when
we better do it. Lee Allen loves it. Lee was at New Egypt. I got to talk to Lee a little bit. I get to race with Lee next weekend on Sunday night at Bridgeport Speedway on the new racetrack, so I'm excited about doing that. And Lee's been running very well down there. I think he's got like 3 seconds in a row right now, and I think he's got a third in like 2 or 3 seconds in a row. I did notice a couple cool things about Bridgeport this weekend. Number one, they had the 4 cylinders there on the track for the first time, so that was pretty cool that some of the lower buck teams got to try out that awesome racetrack with their 4 cylinders. Another thing I noticed down there was the return of Ron Freeze in the street stock down there. He was down there with a Camaro. I'm not sure whose car it was or anything. I just caught it on Facebook, and Ron runs very well down there. It was cool to see him back racing on dirt. Unfortunately, he sent it in a little too deep one time and got up and jumped the cushion, as they call it in dirt racing, and hit the wall pretty good. Ooh. But it's cool seeing Ronnie Freeze racing on dirt again in the street stock division.
I real quick, only because we're not going to have too much time for it, and I really couldn't find any Mahoning results, but I do want to give a shout out to little Paulie Hartwig, because he won his 4-cylinder race there. And Tim, I believe you told us he's the youngest driver to win at Mahoning.
Yeah, the guy said in the Victory Lane photo, he's the youngest driver ever to win a full-bodied car race there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so congrats to him.
Do you have that winners list from Mahoney Valley? You can do that real quick if you want, Josh.
I don't believe I was able to find that list.
I think I sent it to you. Hold on, I might have it. We'll just rattle because they had another big race up there. They had one of those legend races up there where
it was like an over 40 thing.
No. It's where they're honoring all their legendary race car drivers.
Okay.
Through the years, remember we talked to Dino about that?
Yeah.
I think it was George Wambolt's, and his number was 81. So I think it was an 81 lap modified event. That's what they're doing over there this year. I got the winners right here. It was the winners of the George Wambolt tribute. The modified race was, of course, Matt Hirschman. Bo Drobot won the street stocks. Ryan Berger won the hobby stocks, and Paulie Hartwig, the third, won the rookie hobby stocks.
Okay.
And I know Blake Barney was up there. I think Blake finished like 6th or 7th up there. So that was a good run for Blake. I know another wall modified driver up there was Ricky Collins. Unfortunately, there was like 31 cars there. They only start 20 cars on that little racetrack. And unfortunately, for the second time in a row, Ricky wasn't able to qualify. He went to Evergreen and wasn't able to qualify up there, and he wasn't able to qualify at Mahoney Valley. But it's tough, man. It's when they only start 20 cars and you get 30 cars and they're sending 10 or 11 home. It comes down to luck of the draw for your heat races and where you're starting your heat races.
Especially if that's not where you normally are at. I mean, you got to get that car dialed in.
Regulars, he's kind of new to the modifieds and stuff like that. It's a tough deal. So I hope Ricky doesn't give up on his modified dreams just because he hasn't made the last couple of shows. He's picking very tough shows to try to qualify at right now.
Yeah.
All right, back to Bridgeport, Josh.
Yeah, which Bridgeport seems to be doing really well. That track, it looks awesome. I keep thinking of how sad it is that Danny Serrano doesn't get to see
This is his brainchild, and he can't see it. He's looking down on us. He knows what's going on.
Yeah, it's because it's been going so well. So we'll start with the four cylinders here. We have Justin Dunn, and they screwed up Neil's name, so it's Neil Rutt or Nee Rutt. Scott Dunn, Mike Fox, and Joe Gary Sr. That's your top five there. So we'll move on to the South Jersey Overhead Door 602 Sportsman. Scott Hitchens, Steve Kemery, Matt Peck, Wayne Weaver, and Ryan Godown are your top five. The Sunbelt Rentals Street Stocks, Tom Wills, Lee Allen. Look at that. Tom Wills Jr. And
yeah, I saw that. The Tom Wills Sr. won, and then Tom Wills Jr. was third. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, look at that. Lee Allen screwing up a 1-2 foul.
Yeah, it would have been a perfect night for the Wills if it wasn't for Lee Allen getting in the way.
Jeff Dirks and Rich Stinson.
Sorry,
Jr.
Lee. Josh said that, not me. Beat him up.
Yeah. The DA Auto Body rookies: Anthony Cisco, Harry Houdini.
I'm pretty sure that's a fake name.
Yeah, I think so. Tim Borer, Justin Easton, and George Poltz. So,
if that isn't a fake name, that's going to be one of our favorite racing names. We got to follow Harry Houdini now.
I wonder if Harry Houdini has T-shirts. Gotta get a Harry Houdini T-shirt, boy.
Yeah. Oh man, can we get a sticker? Put it up in the studio here. And then we have the All-Star Slingshots, Brett Bieber. No relation to Justin.
They actually, real quick, Josh, I think they actually ran on the quarter-mile track, and I think they called it a slingshot matinee, where they had it during the day before the big track race that night.
Okay, well, they didn't tell me in this post. So.
Yeah, I'm just mentioning. I think it's something pretty cool they did to try to squeeze another race in on race day.
No, I'm all for it. If you can get more divisions, and if you can show up early and watch more racing, I'm all for it. Then we have CJ Fritz, Michael Beckett, Ryan Davey, and Ryan Harris. Now for the Foley Incorporated Caterpillar Dealer Modifieds, Rick Lawback, Ryan Watt, Billy Pouch, Ryan Godown, Tim Buckwalter.
I tell you what, if you haven't been down to Bridgeport yet, make a trip down there, man. It's really an awesome track. They're doing real well. I can't wait to get out there next Sunday and try it out myself, and I can report back to you guys next week about it.
Now, you're going to be on the full size, not the quarter mile,
right? We're going to be on the 4/10 mile over the factory stock. They're calling it a factory stock division, but it's basically the 8-cylinder division from last year. It's basically the Outlaw Enduro Series rules, which I race at Grandview and Big Diamond. So I'm all set up and ready to go down there. Me and Nancy are taking cars down there. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait to do it. Another quick thing I want to mention before we sign off here, because it is 9 o'clock now and I got to get off soon, is Wall Stadium announced that they're opening back up. We're all happy about that. July 18th, they're having a practice. July 25th is the long-awaited opening night. So get ready to get back to Wall Stadium on July 25th and watch some racing.
Oh, it's going to be good.
If I read correctly, the grandstands are open for practice.
Okay, cool. So even if you want to sneak peek, go down there for practice Saturday and check it out. I'm debating to take my car over there for practice Saturday, and I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. I got to get the cars ready for Bridgeport on Sunday. Nancy's busy at work, so she doesn't want to practice this weekend. I might take my car over there. I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing yet, what direction I'm going yet. I got so much going on with these enduro cars, and I'm really having a fun time with them. I'm not 100% sure what we're doing with the factory stocks yet.
Okay.
I mean, if my brother wants to buy me a set of tires, I might go over there and race. I'm not sure yet.
You better stick to the enduro racing then.
Tim, real quick though, did you see that they announced today that the Sunday Series schedule is up now?
Yes, I did. I haven't talked to everybody that's involved with that yet, but we do plan on racing at some point. I don't know if we're going to be there every weekend for points. I'm not sure what we're doing yet. And if you want to buy tires for that, I need 2 sets of tires. So,
okay, I think he was talking to you, Josh.
Of course, absolutely, yeah. With all our sponsorship money from the podcast.
So that's cool. So everybody knows Wall's opening back up, big track, and this Sunday Series track. So we're in full swing over there. So get ready to go back over to Wall Stadium. Do you guys want to do a quick what have we learned?
Absolutely.
I just want to mention, Josh, if you're into the, and it's nothing to do with racing, but it was. Did you see that Mama's Park had that big concert with Southside Johnny.
No, I didn't see that.
They opened up a parking lot for 1,000 tickets. I guess it was 1,000 carloads, and it was sold out literally like in 2 hours. It was sold out, so that's a good thing. And I'm glad to see that all the drive-in movie theaters things are all working out.
Yeah,
well.
no, that's definitely been picking up. Drive-in. Honestly, anything drive-in has been picking up, which is really good to see. So. Hopefully that will work out well. So, all right.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention is, did you see they had some kind of support the cops at rally at Wall Stadium?
Yeah. I saw a quick clip of that. I didn't.
What that was, Tim? From what I heard, it was basically a poker run, and Wall Stadium was the final poker run stop. That's why there were so many people there.
Okay.
They were doing a poker run, though. It was like a fundraiser for the police, and the final stop was Wall Stadium. They had concession stands open and everything, and they fed everybody and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, that is cool. Oh, good for them.
Hopefully, Wall Township remembers that favor and is a little lenient with what other we got going on, this other crap. So
yeah.
All right. So I guess we'll go into what have we learned today. Tim, what did you learn?
I learned that they sell Mr. Pibb at Bethel Motor Speedway. I might have to go up there.
Tim, we got to research this a little bit. And you and Josh are going to research and stuff for your other show that you only did one of.
It's coming back.
It's just called Pibb now. I don't know why they dropped the Mr. part. I'm kind of disappointed in that. I still call it Mr. Pibb because when you say Pibb, nobody knows what you're talking about. You got to say Mr. Pibb.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
what
learned
about Tab?
They still make that?
I think
so.
Yeah,
you see it every once in a while.
I learned that Scott was the first guy to win with an 8-cylinder up there in a long time. That's good.
Yeah.
And that's really about all I learned.
All right, Scott, how about you?
Nancy bought dinner at Speedway.
Hey, I mean, I got us into the track for free with my towing business, so at least she can do is buy dinner.
Josh, the reason why I asked that is when Scott got married, Scott's wedding was one of the best weddings I was ever at. They did a really good job with that.
I wouldn't know. I didn't get an invite.
And one of Nancy's
Josh, I was lucky I got invited.
Me too. And one of Nancy's friends did like whatever you want to call it at the end, and she goes, she was one of Nancy's friends, and she got to know Scott, and she goes, and according to Facebook, over the last year and a half, they've gone out to dinner 247 times, and Nancy bought dinner 220 times because Scott Nancy always right who bought dinner that night.
Just to prove, she's still at work because she's works at an accounting firm, and it's the July 15th deadline, the new July 15th deadline. So it's 9:00 at night. She's still at work. She did call and order food and had it sent to the house, and unfortunately, she did not pay for it. So that's why I had to run off before. I had to get money just to prove to Tim. I had to get money because the delivery guy's coming here soon. I got stuck paying the bill tonight.
Did you see the dust? Did you see the dust come off that money?
All right.
That's a lot of dollar bills there. What did you order? Filet mignon?
No, it's 31. I don't know what she ordered. I don't know.
You're going to find out when it gets there.
At this time of the night, I don't know. I told her if she's ordering from the Italian place, I want it mussels marinara because it's something I can eat on my diet. And if she ordered from Friendly's, believe it or not, Friendly's has a lobster roll out right now. That's pretty good.
Well, you know what? It's funny that you say that. A lot of people have lobster rolls out for some reason right now.
Lobster must be abundant right now or something.
Maybe
because nobody's been fishing them for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go out to eat, so maybe. I don't know.
But yeah, she ordered Friendly's the other night because it was something we could order late. And I drove by the Friendly's on 37 with my tow truck, and it said lobster rolls. I haven't had a lobster roll in a while. I said, Nancy, I'm going to try that lobster roll. She's like, it's going to be disgusting, blah, blah. It's Friendly's. We got it. It was good, man. It was really, really good.
Oh, all right.
All right, so what have I learned? I learned today that Friendly's has a good lobster roll. I learned that Bethel is making a plan to get us in the pits a lot quicker. Josh, it took me 2.5 hours to drive up the Bethel Motor Speedway. It took me 2 hours to get from the parking lot into the pits once I got there.
That's rough, yeah.
Me and Gary McGuigan would have been there at 6 o'clock. We would have had no problem.
I'm surprised you and Gary didn't go up to that. You guys got to make a trip up there. I think Gary would really like that little track and that little town that it's in and stuff like that. It's no Daytona, but it's a cool place to go watch a race and hang out, and it's affordable. I learned that Tony Stewart and Ray Abraham are doing this IROC thing, and they're trying to get the old band back together, like the old IROC style. And
I wonder if our fan Walt got a phone call. Hopefully Walt will come.
Yeah, we have a fan named Walt that listens to the show, and he's a real smart guy because when he comments on some of the stuff we do, he has real good ideas and some solutions. And Walt, we'd like to hear from you about what you think Ray Abraham's got going on with this new deal.
That'd be cool. All right, yeah.
Hi, Josh.
All right, so today I learned that Scott was hooking on Saturday night. I learned that Tim was watching a bunch of guys gobbling down hot dogs. And I learned that Scott will go for a 3-foot hole.
That hot dog contest is rigged or fixed at all because the same guy wins all the time. Whatever happened to the Chinese kid that could beat him?
I don't know. I mean, I think they honestly practice for it though. So I mean, I don't know. I don't want to know. I'll just enjoy it as a funny novelty.
I think it's gonna be like one of those things, like when Joey Chestnut finally passes away, they're gonna do like an autopsy on him, and they're gonna find out he had like a cow stomach or something like that, like
a surgical, like extra stomach.
Yeah, like he cheated. You know how I got my stomach cut smaller to lose weight? He got his stomach made bigger he could win the contest.
They took whatever they took out of you, they moved it over and gave it to
They could cut my stomach, take 80% out and sew it back together. I'm sure they could take a normal stomach and sew 80% more onto it. You know what I'm saying? It's basically just a pouch. It's a big bag, you know?
Yeah.
He's got to be cheating. He's got a cow stomach. There's no doubt about it.
Food and cheating. Gotta love it.
Real quick story. When we were kids, we went out on a fishing boat, and it was like one of those flounder tournaments. Like, whoever catches, everybody puts $20 into a pool on the boat, and whoever catches the biggest flounder wins. Well, we caught this flounder. It was a pretty good size, but they do it by weight. You know how heavy it is. So we're jamming like lead weights in this fish's mouth and packing it full of lead weight, and we got caught. They waited. When the guy picked it up, you could feel that it had stuff inside. So they cut it open, and all these sinkers and weights fell out. The people on the boat wanted to kill us. All right, guys. So that wraps up episode 177 of the RPM podcast. You can go to Wall Saturday for practice. You can go to Bridgeport Sunday for racing. You can go to New Egypt for racing on Saturday. Racing's back in our area. Let's get out and support it.
Definitely. Go to Wall.
Wash your hands.
Good night, everybody.